But first, he's a regular every Monday afternoon, 2.3 million Twitter followers. Famous for his "Here we go" slogan. It is Fabrizio Romano. Fabrizio, great to have you on the show again. We'll start with Mesut Ozil. He's in Turkey ahead of that move to Fenerbahce. When do we expect him to sign that contract and officially be a Fenerbahce player?
So, well, thank you for having me. Always a big pleasure. And yes, finally, Mesut Ozil is going to Fenerbahce. Since yesterday, he was landed in Istanbul, and today he's going to have his medicals and sign his contract as new Fenerbahce player. So the deal is absolutely done and completed. And it's so important for Arsenal to sell players, as we know, as they did also with Saliba, with Kolasinac. Next one could be Papastatopoulos, and now it's time for Mesut Ozil. So he's joining Fenerbahce, and let's see also for MLS in his future, just because DC United were trying to sign him also in this window, but he wanted to be back in Turkey to play for Fenerbahce, but in future they will try again to make him in the MLS. So keep an eye on Mesut Ozil also for his future, but his present now is with Fenerbahce.
Yeah, we await further news on Mesut Ozil. We've been reporting on Transfer Talk here that Christian Eriksen is keen on a Tottenham return this January. Could well be a loan deal. What are you hearing? What do you expect it to happen?
For sure, Christian Eriksen wants to leave Inter. He will love to be back in the Premier League, and in particular with Tottenham. Obviously, he spent fantastic time with Tottenham, so he would love to be back in Spurs. But at the moment, it's not so easy just because of his wages. His salary is 7.5 million euro after taxes per season, so it's totally different by his salary 1 year ago when he was playing with Tottenham. So this is a problem. And also, Inter are asking to pay a fee for the loan if he's joining Tottenham and not the other clubs, just because they paid 20 million euro 1 year ago to sign Christian Eriksen, and this contract will expire in 6 months with Tottenham. So they want a fee from Tottenham if they will go for Christian Eriksen. I'm sure that they will try in the coming days, but at the moment the situation is not so easy, and also other clubs from the Premier League are talking with people around the player. So we will see in the coming days, but for sure Christian Eriksen will be one of the targets for the coming days in the transfer market.
Not long left in this window. Is Tottenham the only option for Christian Eriksen, Fabrizio? That there was some talk about a possible reunion with Mauricio Pochettino and a move to PSG. Is that likely?
I think no. I think no with Paris Saint-Germain, just because Pochettino prefers to have Dele Alli, and we're going to talk about it, over Christian Eriksen. So at the moment, Christian Eriksen is not a target for Paris Saint-Germain. Also, Ajax, we had rumors about Ajax, a possible return of Christian Eriksen in Eredivisie, but at the moment there is nothing with Ajax also because they signed Haller, so they don't want to sign another player in attacking midfield. So at the moment there is nothing with Ajax and with Paris Saint-Germain. There is something, as we said, with Tottenham and with other Premier League clubs. So I will keep an eye also on other clubs who are looking for a quality midfielder. We will see who will make a bid to Inter, just because Inter are ready to sell the player also on loan, on simple loan for 6 months till the end of the season. He's never playing with Antonio Conte. He's not happy with Eriksen, and the player wants to be back in the Premier League. So I think in the coming days something will happen on this year.
Well, another midfielder is Dele Alli, who could be heading out of Tottenham, but they want him to stay and fight for his place. But we're told that PSG are still interested. Is that your information as well?
Yes, they're pushing. Paris Saint-Germain are pushing. They want Dele Alli on loan till the end of the season with no buy option. It will be a simple loan till the end of the season. And Dele Alli is pushing also just because he wants to leave Tottenham. He respects the club. He respects the manager, the owner, everyone at the club. But he just wants to play. And he's not finding his pace at Tottenham in this moment. He was not in the squad in the last match against Sheffield. So it's normal that he wants to leave. He wants to play. And Pochettino would love to hit him back. And Paris Saint-Germain in this case. So that's why they're pushing. And they hope in the coming days to change the situation with Daniel Levy, just because the owner of Tottenham at the moment doesn't want to let him go. But Dele Alli is pushing, and also Paris Saint-Germain are going to try again in the coming days to sign Dele Alli. So I think something can happen, and could be related also to what's going on with Christian Eriksen for sure.
OK. What about Fikayo Tomori then? He's been attracting a lot of interest. Looks like a loan move to AC Milan. Very close now. A lot of Chelsea fans are a bit surprised with an option to buy in this deal. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, I think this deal will be completed like tomorrow. They are really, really close. It's just a matter of details. They will sort it out like today, and tomorrow the deal will be completed. The player is ready to fly to Milano. So it will be a loan with buy option, yes. I know they're surprised just because it's normal. We're talking about a good talent. He was not playing, but Frank Lampard loves him, as he said many times. So at the moment, AC Milan asking for a buy option, but remember that the buy option will be for 30 million euro. It will be really difficult to see AC Milan next summer to pay this fee. If Tomori will go well, obviously they will will do it. But at the moment, it's nothing sure. So we have considered this deal like a loan, and then AC Milan will decide next summer, and Chelsea are absolutely open to this solution. But the player wants to go, he wants to play, he needs his space, he's a young player, he's a talented player, and that's why Chelsea are ready to complete this deal with AC Milan tomorrow.
Fabrizio, Arcadius Milik has been attracting a lot of interest because of his contract situation. There has been interest from Premier League clubs. What's the latest on his move to Marseille and what that might mean for Marseille's further transfer business in this window?
It's really, really close. Also, this one, just because, Napoli always asked for 15 million euro for Arcadius Milik. And as you mentioned, also Premier League clubs were interested last summer, like Everton and this kind of club, trying to sign Arcadius Milik, also an option with Tottenham before they signed Vinicius. So now it's a different situation because Marseille are the only club trying to sign Arcadius Milik. And if they don't sign him, he's going to sign as a free agent next summer. So that's why Napoli wants to get this money right now. At the moment, the offer from Marseille is around 8 million euro. More 3 million euro as add-ons to complete the deal, and they are discussing about the last details, but the player has accepted. He wants to go to Marseille. He wants to play, basically because he's out from the squad here in Napoli since 6 months, and he will be out till the end of the season, so that's why he wants to go. Marseille are ready to complete the deal. I think this week Arcadius Milik will move to Marseille and will leave Napoli.
Well, finally, Fabrizio, we always ask you on a Monday for a prediction. Is there a transfer we should keep an eye out for this week?
I think it will be interesting to see what's going on with Moises Caicedo, the young Ecuadorian midfielder, just because we know he was close to Manchester United. Then they decided to not make an official bid for Caicedo, and Brighton and Newcastle are in the race. Brighton are really close, but there is the issue of the work permit to resolve in the coming days. So we will see what's going on, because it's a dangerous situation with many clubs involved. And also we had rumors about Chelsea, but they are not working in this moment about Caicedo. But Brighton, Newcastle, and we will see if Manchester United will be back probably in the next months if he will not sign with any club right now. It will be an interesting situation with Brighton leading the race.
Fabrizio, always great to speak to you. See you next week.
Thank you, as always.
Right, so with Ade and Dave, let's just discuss some of those there. In fact, we'll start with Mesut Ozil, because, David, it looks like we can finally have a conclusion to this. It's been our top story for most days in this transfer window. This might be the last day of it.
Potentially, yeah. It's end game time, isn't it, for Mesut Ozil? Fabrizio confirmed there what we've been talking about, that this deal is going to be sorted out in the coming hours. It may take a little longer, it may be a couple of days due to the contractual situation of Mesut Ozil, but I think it was interesting what Fabrizio was talking about DC United there. We were told that they were interested and had held some discussions with Mesut Ozil's representatives about the player's future. Now, the thing with MLS was that due to their wage structure and a salary cap, that they would not be able to get near Mesut Ozil's wage demands. Now, the thought process was that DC United would be able to structure the deal whereby they would invest quite heavily in Mesut Ozil's brand, and there would be some financial payback for Ozil from that deal. So that would be a way for them to get a deal done for Mesut Ozil. Now, it's interesting that perhaps the MLS is still in his future, according to Fabrizio there. I think Mesut Ozil has said himself that it's a league that he would like to play in. So it'd be interesting to see whether it is a 3.5-year deal that Mesut Ozil signs at Fenerbahce, whether that would still allow him then to play on and move to the MLS sometime in the future.
Yeah, it does look like it's nearly over in that one. Right, AC Milan are close to agreeing a deal to sign Chelsea centre-back Fabrizio Tomori on loan, but with a £25 million option to buy. Chelsea boss Frank Lampard has already said Tomori can go out on loan this month after being reluctant to let him leave in the summer, while Antonio Rudiger was close to leaving Stamford Bridge. Right, Ade, the thing that seems to have surprised all of us here is not the loan, not the club he's going to, but an option to buy. Chelsea might actually let him go permanently.
Yeah, we all kind of expected the loan just because he needs playing time. He hasn't really found his way into the Chelsea squad this season, way down the pecking order. Zuma and Thiago, firstly, their first choices make sense. Rudiger has jumped in front of him, so has Christensen. And if you compare that to last season, I mean, he played 15 times, started 15 times in the Premier League for Chelsea. So at the start of last season, he was definitely in consideration as being a first-choice centre-back. Not so now. We spoke to Chelsea fans on the show last week, and they were clear in terms of their pecking order and what they like. Yes, Thiago was number one, and then it was very tight between Zuma And Tomori, I thought he was one for the future, but I guess with this obligation to buy, maybe not so. Look, it gets to a stage, I think, in any player's career where if you aren't playing and if the club don't see you as part of their future, you have to make that decision as well. And I think Tomori, as much as, you know, we laud his talents, he is 23, he's capped now by England. I think he'll get more caps for England, but he does need to go out, and play somewhere and be a permanent fixture. And right now at Chelsea, that doesn't seem like it. What you have to think Chelsea have got in the kind of the back of their minds is that they probably are looking at someone else in terms of replacement. You don't let Tomori go again. England player, 23 years old, English talent, if you're not thinking about another centre-back coming in. So I wouldn't be shocked if there's another centre-back coming in the summer if Tomori does go out on loan. Yeah,
it would be an option to buy for AC Milan, but it would still give them the power, Dave. So Ari was surprised by that. I was surprised. Does that make all three of us clean sweep?
Is it a full house?
Curious, I'd describe it. A couple of curious elements to the deal. The first is the obvious option to buy being there, but we heard Fabrizio say there that AC Milan would find it very difficult to pay 30 million euros or 25 million pounds for a player with their finances as they are. Lampard was unequivocal, wasn't he, when he said Tomori had a long-term future at the club. And I think we have to say, you know, just because the option is there doesn't mean that it's going to be exercised by the club. I think AC Milan did a similar deal with Chimui Bakayoko, where they got him with a loan with an option and never ended up exercising that option for the player. So yes, that's the first bit. The second curious bit, I would say, is the fee and the option fee, which is £25 million. Now take that figure in isolation and you think, well, Milan may have got themselves a good deal there. But what it also does is it tells everybody else in the market how much Chelsea are willing to accept for Fikayo Tomori this summer. So when it comes to the summer, whether he ends up going to AC Milan or not, if a Premier League club or any other club bids anywhere close to £25 million, that's the marker that they have to reach. And that is budget that they can set aside. If someone's interested in Tomori now, they know it will cost them £25 million this summer. That was the other curious thing, that they have essentially told the whole market how much they would expect.
I think it would be more if it was to another Premier League club. You know, I think with him being young and English, I think the price would go up if it was to another Premier League club. But in terms of Chelsea selling players, what's their record like? Do they tend to get good value for money? Do they sell them at the right time?
Well, Marina Granovskaya is the one of the closest allies of Roman Abramovich. She takes a lot of control in the transfers at Chelsea. She has a wider remit than that at Chelsea, but she is known as one of the fiercest negotiators in the Premier League, within the Premier League leadership structure of teams in the division. Now, there are some obvious ones where you would think, well, you know, Chelsea have made a mistake there. Kevin De Bruyne was 22 when he was sold. Mo Salah was 24. Nathan Ake was a little bit younger than Tomori at 22, but there's an argument to say, well, that was a mistake because Bournemouth managed to flip him and sell him on for more money in the end. So
let's not forget Lukaku, Sturridge as well, all sold at young ages.
Yeah, I think also, though, you have to look at the players that Chelsea have sold as well. There's a number of players that you could go back through that they have got good money for. Nemanja Matic, Diego Costa, Alvaro Morata, Eden Hazard, over £100 million. All those in fairly recent years that you would say was good business, that those players perhaps haven't gone on to hit the heights elsewhere than Chelsea. So there's been some quite high-profile deals where Chelsea have sold players that have gone on to do great things, but also they have got good money for some players too.
Yeah.